Okay, so it looks like we are about to get started here. I don't know how we'll do the countdown. I guess I can do the countdown. That should work. I think.
That should work, yes.
Yeah. All right, so yeah, this is a all cap switches run of various different ROM hacks done by Iwer. I'll be commentating. My name is Andrew AJT. I ran the Super Melee Adventure 64 run a couple days ago in the marathon, and hopping on for some commentary for this very exciting run by Iwer. Looks like we'll get started soon. I'll count down from 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, start.
It's me, Mario! Okie dokie!
Okay, actually looks like the stream might be slightly less delayed than the actual VLC for some reason. I'll just keep an eye on both. But yeah, so this is an interesting run. It's kind of similar to my run in a way, where we're actually going to be playing multiple ROMs in one hack, which is pretty interesting. The goal is to basically just activate all of the cap switches in 5 different hacks. We're starting with Smart Spheres 0, and this will be the longest hack of the bunch. So we don't actually specifically need to get stars, but because you can't access all the cap switches right off the bat, we will have to collect some stars. Just like in the vanilla game, how, like, you know, the wing cap, for example, doesn't unlock until you have a certain number of stars. So these are all fairly recent hacks. I think the oldest one is like 2020. This one is made by Shine, and this will be 30 stars we have to collect to get all the cap switches. So we don't even have to beat the game or anything. We just have to unlock all the cap switches. And so just to list them all off for reference, so we're starting with Smart Sphere 0, then we got Plutonium Mario 64, after that, then Stupid Balls 2.5, then some shorter runs, Mario and the Mystic Purple Stars, and then Super Mario Stiletto to finish it off. And so I joined this commentary I volunteered for this on short notice. I haven't actually played these hacks myself, but from what I skimmed through, it looks like just a very movement-based run. And it's kind of a cool idea for a run as well, the cap switches. Like, Mario 64 is so much about just like collecting stars half the time, that it's always exciting when there's kind of a different goal in mind for the marathon run. This category reminds me a little bit of, I've run vanilla Mario 64 for quite a long time now, and one category extension that I enjoy is the 90-star category. And the interesting thing in that category is you actually don't need the stars from the cap stages, but you just have to go unlock the switches, which is like something you wouldn't normally do in a Mario 64 run. Normally when you want to unlock those switches, you're just going to get the star as well. So it's kind of fun, like just going for the switch itself. And like I said, this is done by Iwer Sonsch. He's a German runner. He's ran many different ROM hacks before.
He's also had some decent progress in various Kaizo hacks as well.
Yeah, and One thing he wanted to mention as well is that these hacks, they don't have the fix for the butt slide. Basically, in original Mario 64, when you land, there's like a frame buffer where you can't jump right away, and this affects things a lot. But when you land on a slope and you're sliding down, you can't normally jump right away. There's like a certain 5-frame window, I believe, where you can't jump, and some hacks actually did patch this, but these hacks do not have that, and this actually does affect like a surprising amount of many stars. Yeah, so this hack specifically doesn't have it. I'm not sure about the others. The nice thing about these hacks are, it's just my preference, but I've always enjoyed these hacks more where it's like kind of just more like standard Mario 64. Like you could see some of these environments being in like the vanilla game, just maybe they wouldn't be like quite as difficult in the vanilla game, but I always enjoy hacks like this where it's kind of more like standard Mario 64 gameplay with no like crazy new mechanics or anything. Maybe I'm just boring, but like I don't love the hacks where they add like crazy new like jumps and like power-ups and stuff. I just like the regular Mario 64 platforming. It never gets boring for me.
Honestly, the same. There are definitely some stuff in decomp that is fun to go through, but that tends to be more rare than not for me to really enjoy decomp actually.
Yeah, there are some exceptions, like Super Mario 64 Land is one of my favorites by K's. Like, that has some pretty cool power-ups for the most part, and it's fun learning them, but like, especially like some hacks too as well have like very unique cameras, which like it's innovative, but at the same time it's like, well, I don't really feel like learning like a whole new camera system just for like one ROM hack. Like, I know the regular Mario 64 camera isn't like perfect, but like you can just give me like the parallel Lakitu cam and I'll be happy usually.
Yeah, just give an Aglab cam, or just regular parallel Lakitu cam would suffice.
Yeah, I know this one. I believe these have like the D-pad camera as well, which is just like a nice thing to have as like a bonus, where you can just like slightly adjust the camera if you want with the D-pad. Which is nice, because sometimes, like, with the way the Mario 64 camera is, like, if you want, like, a more specific angle, you can't really get that with just parallel Lakitu cam, but at the same time, it's not going to, like, interfere if you don't want to use it.
Yeah.
The D-pad camera, like, when I learned my speed game for this Melee Adventure 64, I didn't really use it much at first, and then I found, like, there are a few jumps in that game where you want, like, an angle that's just like very slightly off of like up, like you might just want like a few degrees off of up, and the D-pad camera came in handy a lot for that, because like trying to get the notch for that is, it's basically a non-notched angle you want sometimes, so having the D-pad camera where you can just adjust it slightly and then hold up from there just makes it way easier. And nice long jump down to this star. Looks like these hacks do still have fall damage, but that's okay. You can fall as long as you want, and you're never going to take more than half HP bar.
Just noticed the estimates wrong. Whoops. Better change that real quick.
Oh yeah, it's going to be a little low. I think it's like 1 and something hours. Hour 20 minutes maybe. Definitely want to check the schedule, I just don't have it up.
Yeah, hour 20 minutes. So I'll definitely change that real quick. Whoops.
No worries. And we got a nice invisible wall, which is a very common problem in various ROM hacks and in the vanilla game as well. These are always fun, the wall kicks here. You just can't mess it up or you die. Invisible walls are like a really strange mechanic in this game. I don't fully understand it, but it just has something to do with like the collision like below you, I believe it is, causes invisible walls, and it's not like an easy thing that can just be like patched. It's just something to where the game, like just how the game is designed, it can cause that issue. It's like a really layman explanation, but it's not something that's as easy to patch as you would think from what I understand.
Yeah, it tends to be more an issue with how the game's collision is mapped out, more so than something that can easily be fixed. Like one can make like preventative measures to help prevent invis walls, but sometimes there's no helping it if a game just decides that if a game just misses some faces.
Yeah. But thankfully, you can usually try to account for them because, like, I don't know, invisible walls, like, they're inconsistent, but they're also, like, consistent in a way where you know they're kind of going to show up in certain places, so you can sometimes adjust your strats accordingly. And nice, we got the wall kicks right into the star. It's interesting. Go ahead.
Go on.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna say it's interesting in like vanilla Mario 64. I've done 120 star before, and like actually a lot of the noob level strats like have risks of invisible walls, especially in like TikTok clock. But when you learn the advanced strats, like there's very little risk of invisible walls because it just works out that like the high level strats generally don't run into them. There's a couple that you can run into, like there's one in Vanish Cap which you can get, which kind of sucks because it messes up the cycles, and it's just like so rare that it's not really worth your time to avoid. There's one for wall kicks will work, which can happen sometimes, but again, it's not like a game-breaking one. And then there's one that's actually somewhat common in TTC 100 coins, but it's also not something that, like, you don't die if you hit the invisible wall, you just lose like 5 seconds usually, so you just kind of have to, you know, it's interesting how the high level strats, it just works out to where invisible walls are not too big of an issue.
Yeah, and while the main barrier to entry is just execution, that's basically it.
Yeah.
Although I did actually end up, like a while ago, doing vanilla single stars to prepare for doing 16 star as the first ever speedrun category that I actually did practice for.
Oh, nice. Do you run ROM hacks too, or?
Well, you see, the thing is, I never finished a 16 star run.
Yeah.
So I ended up doing ROM hack runs and ROM hack single star because I figured it wasn't nearly as competitive, and most of the time I would end up just doing the stars for fun anyway.
Yeah, single stars like can be addicting, especially you can just like hit the reset button anytime and just try to go for the perfect run.
Yeah, for sure. Although I used to have although 1 star I actually used to have a record in. I used to have like a tied record in vanilla.
Oh wow.
Which I think is the JRB Cannon Star.
Was that the with like frame walk?
No, just straight cannon shot.
Oh yeah, I guess if the cannon's already open, I guess it wouldn't be much slower. Actually, it might be faster to just use the cannon, right?
Yeah, and also frame walk also requires you to swim when in reality you could just go ahead and do like a little jump dive off of the beginning rock straight into the cannon.
It's so cool how like single star, like the strats can change a little bit, like in the ways that they would never change in like a full 120 run. Like for example, Snooplex has a really good video on the special triple jump used in single star runs, like the one that Yoshi gives you with 120 stars, how like the sparkly one that like bounces and all that, and that can actually be useful in single star because it has like very It's kind of worse than the regular triple jump overall because you can't wall kick out of it, which is like a huge flaw, but it does have the advantage to where you can like shorten it a little bit, like you don't have to get the full height, if I remember correctly. And it also bounces up slopes slightly, so like there's a lot of different single star records where it's useful because it just saves like those little bit of frames, and you would never ever see that in a regular 120 run because you can't get it until you have 120 stars anyway.
Yeah. Like that's an interesting thing about like single star though, because with single star, you tend to just like there's just a lot of really precise movement that you do in single star in particular that would never be consistent enough to be practical in a full game run.
Yeah, like I love like Womp's Fortress, for example. There's a lot of like glitchy wall kicks you can do to like skip the tree at the start, and like there's some crazy shit with like Owless where you can do like single jump Owless, just things you would never see in RTA run.
Dude, single jump? What?
Yeah, you can.
That's a thing?
Yeah, I believe you can actually do it, and you can do like side flip as well, like because like I guess the thing with like single jump and double jump is you get more height based on your speed. So like if you can get like quite enough height, you can make it work with like a single jump, whereas like triple jump is always going to be capped at the same height. So like it's not like as better as like some people might think, but it's just like way more consistent, obviously.
Gotcha. That was just the first time I ever heard of that. Being a thing.
Yeah, I'm like 99% sure it's a thing, but it's super difficult. I've never done it before. I just do regular noob triple jump.
I mean, I just do I mean, for the few times I did do the Owless single star, I mainly just did the ultra noob strat.
Yeah, I used to use even just like the owl for a very long time because like it's like 3 seconds, so like unless you have like insane movement, it's like only 3 seconds to use the owl. So like a lot of people, I see people like going for like sub 30-minute times in 16 star, and they're like trying to do Owless, and I'm like, you're like completely like wasting your time because like it's a pretty difficult trick, and like it's not worth your time focusing on. I feel like that's kind of the nice thing about Mario 64, and like it applies to most ROM hacks as well, that like you don't really need to go for like the most insane strats if you want to get like a decent time. And it's really great because not all speed games are like that. Like if you want to run like Ocarina of Time, like you're gonna have to learn some like some stuff and like some like pretty difficult tricks, whereas this game you can just like pick it up and play it and start a timer.
Yeah, pick it up, play, start a timer, move somewhat fast, and you can end up, and you can typically be pretty pleased with a okay time.
Yeah, looks like we. Go ahead.
And you can think, to yourself after the run, damn, that felt quick to me.
Yeah, and like it's so satisfying to see like just how you improve every run. But it looks like we have like a little bit of a struggle right now with this the lava boosting. It's a lot harder than it looks for anyone who hasn't done like some lava boost stars before. Like once you bounce with the lava boost off a wall, like you have very little control over where you're gonna go. So struggling like a little bit right here to get the bounce right.
Yeah, and especially over like wall bounce, that tends to be like for a lot of casual players that might end up being essentially an Achilles heel of sorts. Because
oh my god, we're getting so close.
Very little. Because I believe there's only like one area in vanilla where lava boosting would actually be very helpful.
Yeah, just like the volcano and like just like some basic movement for other stars. It's such a shame that in the original they didn't make any use of like, they barely make use of combining the caps whatsoever. There's just the 1 star collect the caps and in Dire Dire Docks, and for that you don't even need the metal cap, you can just swim down the vanish cap, so it's kind of just like wasted potential. Yeah. So it's the great thing about ROM hacks, we can like do crazy shit with like, okay, grab the metal cap and like cross all this lava.
yeah. ROM hacks give you a lot of freedom over like what you want to create, and also the kind of sections and also strategies you can do to overcome those set obstacles.
Yeah, like I always feel like it's such a shame that like these games get made and like the developers make like this whole engine for them and like mechanics and everything, and then it's just like one game out of them. Like there's no more. I mean, sometimes there's exceptions, like Tears of the Kingdom is obviously using the Breath of the Wild engine, but like in a game like this, I know there was like a Super Mario 64 2 planned, but it never happened, and like we did eventually get Sunshine, but there's just like a lot more potential that this game has, and ROM hacks definitely allowed us to see the full potential.
Yeah, for sure. And it's also funny how they have a bunch of like coded in like small mechanics that never get used in the game proper.
Yeah, and there's just like so much depth to it, like the speed kicks and just like first frame wall kicks and like just those little things that like you wouldn't really think much about just playing the game casually, and then like they can actually be hugely important for speedruns. It's like very similar to like Super Smash Bros. Melee in a way as well, where like there's so many different like advanced techniques for a game that's just designed for like a bunch of kids to play like as a party game.
Yeah,
Like
it's funny how a party game ended up like like with Melee. I do play it. It's pretty fun. But like it's funny how a game that's fully intended to be a party game ended up becoming such just ended up becoming a sport of its in and of itself.
yeah, still like 23 years later, like a GameCube game is being played like by thousands of people in like in-person events. It's just amazing.
Yeah, it's actually pretty cool that people ended up finding all the exploits of the system, as well as like a few things that they thought would be neat to leave in as well.
Yeah,
Because
like I believe like wave dashing is actually like the developers knew about it, but they just didn't think it would be like such a big deal.
they knew you could wave dash, but they're like, huh, that's a neat little thing people could do, and then didn't really think anything of it until they saw like the stuff that they did in until they saw all the stuff that can be done with wave dashing.
Yeah, like I always wonder like what it would be like to watch like the developers play their own games. Like you never really see that. Like if like the people who designed Mario 64, like how long would it take them to like get all the stars? Like they would. I believe like developers usually are not the best at their own games. That's why they have like playtesters and stuff.
Yeah. So it kind of reminded me of this like funny little incident, because there was there's some articles I read where Shigeru Miyamoto was brought in to test a beta of Breath of the Wild, and what did he do the entire time? Climbing trees.
Yeah, like that game is so nice that you can just like do whatever you want. It's interesting. I only got a Switch a few it's been like 2021 I think I got it, and I never thought I would really like Breath of the Wild. But when I watched like gameplay of it, I was like, this just looks like way too different than like a regular Zelda game. And then I played it, and it's like, okay, like wow, like before I knew it, I put like 100 hours into it, just like getting all the shrines and everything, and then I ended up loving Tears of the Kingdom as well.
Okay, so you see, with Breath of the Wild, I actually ended up doing some of like the story stuff, but most of my time was spent on just doing just random side quests, finding random Korok seeds, and then oh boy, what's this shrine?
Yeah,
and then there's like a random story repeat, and I'm like, okay, I guess I'll get to this later, and then I just pretty much never do it until like a while later.
Yeah, like I did that with Tears of the Kingdom, where I did like so much shit before I even did like the first dungeon that like, by the time I did it, I was like way too OP, and I was like flying like the air bike and everything, and like I had all this armor upgrade. And I also love the glitches in that game because the one of the first versions, the 1.1.1, had a duping glitch, and I just like never updated my game, so you can just like dupe like diamonds and stuff, and it actually made the game like. At first, I was like, well, I'm not going to use this too much because like I don't want to like ruin the game for myself and all that and everything. And then I realized like some of the armor upgrades and like some of the things you need like require a ton of grinding. So I actually felt a lot better about using the duping glitch, and it made my gameplay experience a lot better.
Yeah. Sometimes exploits can enhance a gameplay experience, and I feel like stuff like that is very much one of those cases.
Yeah, and of course with Mario 64 we have so many things like if there was no BLJ.
Yeah.
It would suck.
Hello, Authentic Brian. Thank you for the good luck on.
Yeah, what's up?
Both the commentary as well as Iwer for his run.
Yeah, I'm so glad to have a chance to interact with chat, because for my run, the Melee Adventure 64 run a couple days ago, I had the chat open on my phone, and of course like Twitch Mobile is so bad that the chat like froze like 30 seconds into my run, and I didn't realize it, so I just thought like no one was talking the whole run because it was like pretty late. And then when the run ended, I opened it on the browser, and I saw like, oh my god, I missed like all these messages, and I felt so sad because like I would have loved to like answer people's questions and stuff and everything. And
yeah, that isn't oof.
Yeah, it sucked, but it's not a big deal.
I was just like, I was one of the people that ended up hopping in with like a few statements of my own, and I'm like, why isn't I responding? Huh, that's weird.
Yeah. I was so sad when I realized it, but I'm sure I did run it last year at least, so, or last SRM, so it wasn't the first time. A lot of people had seen it, and I'll probably want to run it again at the summer SRM as well.
Yeah. I think it's not really much of an issue for me since I have like a 2-monitor setup. So I could just play a game on one monitor and chat and stream playback on the other.
Yeah. Okay, so it looks like this run is progressing pretty well. We need 30 stars total. That will give us access to course 7, which is, I believe, we need that for the final cap switch here.
Yeah.
Got more wall kicks coming here. I like the classic wall kicks. Like, I know some hacks have the maybe we have some quicksand ledge grabs as well. I know some hacks have like the Mario Sunshine-esque wall kicks where you can like slide on the wall and stuff, but I like the challenge of just like having to time it.
Yeah, that is a pretty neat challenge. Although like after a while of playing Kaizo, just doing wall kicks in general would feel almost like it feels basically like a non-issue.
Yeah, you get used to it.
But yeah, I could see like that for the first time for some people, it might end up being like a legitimate challenge to time the A press to kick the wall.
Yeah, especially like people new to, like, if you come from like newer gamers, if they come from like Mario Odyssey or something, and then they're like, wow, you just like, if you don't hit the A right at the right time, you just die and there's nothing you can do about it. Like, the games today wouldn't be like that.
Yeah, which is why I kind of like some of the more old school parts of like gaming in a way, because there's an actual like method and also like a set method as to what you do.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, I think Sunshine has the best wall jumps in Mario. Yeah, Jello, like, they definitely feel really good in that game, especially because you have Flood as well. It's interesting, I watched, I forget which video it was, but I watched an Average Trey video. I know he's like a very good 120 Shine runner, and he actually said that there are certain code that they reused a good save there from Iwer to not slide all the way down there. There actually is some reused code from Mario 64 in Mario Sunshine. An example is like how when you do a rollout onto a slope, you get like a ton of speed for some reason, like running around. And I always noticed that that happened in both Mario 64 and in Sunshine. And apparently it is actually just reused code from Mario 64. So it's cool that they didn't just make Sunshine from scratch. Like there was a little bit of reused code as well.
That's interesting.
Yeah, there might be other things as well, but that's like one clear example I could think of.
And I think there's also a reason that I might think of as to why some parts of Mario 64 are as jank as they are, and how some stuff feels really badly coded, is because the N64 was basically the first console that Nintendo had that they actually used a different programming language. So some of it might just be inexperience.
Yeah, like I believe if they, I think Case has some videos on this, like they could totally reprogram Mario 64 to where like it would run perfectly with no lag. It's just they probably didn't have the experience to do that back then. But like,
yeah,
the N64 is actually like, I believe it's hard to develop for, but it's actually like more powerful than people give it credit for. And if you know how to program properly for it, you can actually make like some pretty graphic intensive games, at least like for the time. Like there's no, it's not necessary for the N64 to have to like lag so much on like the Dire Dock submarine. It's just the way the game was coded. It can't handle it.
Yeah, it seems to just be very unoptimized code that led to some of the stuff being how it is. And I feel like one of the bigger offenders of that is like, or biggest in this case, would be games like GoldenEye 007, where there's like a lot of lag, and it says something when the speed runs of individual levels end up banking on you looking at as little as possible to reduce the lag, because it is inevitable.
Yeah, good strat by Iwer there. I don't know if that was on purpose, but there's a safe strat you can do with most Bowser fights where you can just literally like throw him closer to the bomb and then just throw him again. Like I used to actually do this when I started vanilla Mario 64. Like it wastes like a shockingly low amount of time, like only like 3 or 4 seconds to just throw Bowser like a little bit closer and then just re-grab him. And he also used the teleport grab strat, which for anyone who's not familiar, it's a really weird mechanic, but if you basically just touch Bowser's tail, not even with like a move or attack or jump or anything, if Mario just touches Bowser's tail and then runs to the front of him and then faces the same direction that Bowser is facing, if you're close enough, you can just hit the grab button and you'll grab Bowser from like in front of him. And that's also a really useful technique, because you can just grab him a lot closer to the bomb using the teleport grab.
Yeah, that is very handy in speed runs and also just like in general.
Yeah, it's also like a good backup as well, because sometimes like if you miss the grab, but you, like sometimes you might miss the grab of the tail, but then you know you got close enough to like touch his tail, so then you could just go for the teleport grab. It's way easier than like having to like around him for another few seconds. So yeah, we got 27 stars, so this should be coming up on the end of Smart Sphere 0. Iwer did say that we might not get to all 5 hacks, but I guess it just depends on how the runs go.
Yeah, and also no pressure to Iwer if he doesn't make it to the 5 though. Like sometimes stuff just happens.
Yeah, in my last, it's funny, my run this year, like it was really clean the entire time, and then I just like started messing up things in the Captain Falcon segment, and it's like it's the most empty feeling in the world when you're like trying to stream a game to a marathon and you like mess up something and then you just have to redo the entire thing, and it's like, well, I don't even know what to talk about this time because I just did this and I was supposed to get it the first time, so
yeah, you're supposed to get it the first, you have to try it again, and you're like, well, shit. What do I say?
Yeah, yeah, but yeah, it happens. There's no clean runs of any
Yeah,
game.
it's like it's like this is my stock in life right now, huh?
Yeah, just have to do the jumps of shame to redo it. But yeah, it happens to every runner, and like in fact, like most like even like PBs and world records have some like pretty glaring mistakes as well. So it's not something to be too concerned
Yeah,
about.
yeah, for sure. And I think one run that ended up being basically like the epitome of that was like my my Stardust Rampage run earlier in the marathon.
Oh no,
Because
what happened?
so you see, it was a it so you see that was a hack by Ferris 242. It's not the best. Uh,
Okay.
so I ended up doing that as filler because one of the runners was too tired to do his run, and so I
Yeah, so
decided.
you didn't have much time to prepare.
Yeah, I was only awarded like the day of, so I just spent
Yeah.
like most of that day doing it, and I thought it was like much later on in the day, and so when I was alerted to that, I was like, wait, like right now, right now? Well, huh?
Yeah, just like go do the run right now.
I'm like, fuck me, I guess. and then I, and then, and then I ended up just like forgetting where a lot of the stuff was because I barely practiced.
Oh my god, yeah, that's like the most empty feeling as well. I remember one of the runs earlier, someone like forgot where one of the red coins were, and I just like felt so bad for them.
Oh,
It's like,
one of the red coins were in like open quad or whatever.
yeah, I don't remember which hack it was, but they had like 7 red coins, and they had to run around and find the other. And I'm like, I didn't mind it. I was just like, oh, if that was me in that situation, I'd be like, oh my god, where the heck is this red coin?
I. That was probably me.
Oh, okay, maybe that was maybe that's why you didn't know where it was.
I just. That was. That was the most frustrating feeling.
Was it like on a beach level as well, I think?
Yeah, it was like the beach level. It was like, yeah, right.
Okay, that makes sense then, because I was like, yeah, I must have joined that like halfway through, because I was like, damn, I guess like he just didn't practice for this at all.
Yeah, I was
But
just.
I didn't know it was a short notice run.
Yeah, like. Oh, we're moving on to plutonium.
Yeah,
Mario
so that was
64.
Smart Spheres, we got all the caps, so now it's time for Plutonium. Mario 64, this has estimate of around 16 minutes, so, but we still need to get 18 stars, so this should be actually a fairly fast-paced run.
Yeah, for sure. But like, yeah, it actually was just like a very short notice run of like a run that ended up being almost 4 hours, mind you.
Yeah, that's a lot. I don't think I would even attempt that, so I give you props for trying that.
Like it went over the projected estimate, but in a way I'm glad it did because it
Yeah.
helped the schedule move along well.
Yeah, the marathon seems like very strict with the schedule every year that I've watched it. Like they don't want to push like the runs forward or backward at all. So like,
I mean, it's mainly for it's. I feel like it's mainly for convenience and also just to keep it orderly in a way.
yeah, because like especially you don't want people like showing up like. You don't want them not realizing that their run is like 30 minutes earlier than it's supposed to be, and then like it's hard to keep track of everyone in that way, especially with an online marathon.
Yeah. Like I've essentially just been doing some of this stuff on the back end since like summer 2020, I believe.
Yeah, I think that's right around when I started watching.
Yeah. Although, actually, I'm actually curious, Andrew. Like, when did you start playing ROM hacks?
So I have like on and off history with it. Like I talked about in my Melee Adventure 64 run, where like my interest in Mario 64 was the first game I ever played when I was 5 years old. I got N64 with this game as my first ever video game. But then like on the internet in like 2007, there was a lot of people who did like these game FAQs, video quizzes, where we would do like these little like speedrun challenge competitions, just like on emulator and stuff. That's how I got exposed to like N64 speedrunning. And then in terms of your question, the actual ROM hack, I remember when the Missing Stars came out. I don't know if you know that one. Like that's like
Oh yeah. That was one of the first ones I played.
yeah. So like I played that a lot back then, and it was like it's kind of like it doesn't really hold up that great now, but it's nostalgic. So that's like the first one I played, but I don't like have like the same ROM hack knowledge that like most of the marathon runners have, because like I still focus like quite a bit on the vanilla game as well. But I played like a lot of the ones in the Mega Pack and like a lot of the K's ones, and I've just familiar with watching all the marathons. So like most of my knowledge is like vanilla Mario 64, but like I keep up well enough with the ROM hacks as well.
Yeah. So I ended up. See, I think Super Mario 64 was a game I started playing when I was like around 7, I believe. Like, wasn't the first game that I played by a fair margin, but it was one of the ones that was like one of the much more fun ones back then. So, which was side tangent, kind of funny how sometimes I would see a NASCAR race pop up and I just pop in one of my NASCAR N64 games and just let it rock for a bit.
Yeah, N64 was my that's my. Oh, by the way, just to set up this game a little bit, this is Plutonium Mario 64. This is made by usernames or spiders.
Oh,
there's 101 stars in this, and but yeah, we just need to get at least 18 to spawn the metal cat pipe. So you're saying, in terms of other N64 games you played?
Yeah, there's probably like a decent few that I've played. You know, not really a bunch, but there's probably like a handful that I played.
Yeah, when I was a kid, I never really thought of like a game could be good or bad, so like I just pretty much played like whatever I had, and like
I mean, same.
yeah, like there was never a thought of like, wow, this game's actually shit, it's not worth my time. Like when you're a kid, it's just like you just assume like all games are like decent, and even if it's bad, you just like keep playing it.
Yeah, I feel like I'm not picky when it comes to the games I tend to play though, because I figure if it's enjoyable, who cares if it's not that good?
Yeah, like it just depends on your taste for games.
Yeah, but as far as I believe Mario 64 is concerned, I started when I was 7, and then I knew, and then I think I started looking at ROM hack stuff back in like 2010 when I saw like a couple videos covering Kaizo Mario 64.
Yeah, that was interesting. Like I feel like a lot of ROM hacks back then. I don't know if it was so much for Mario 64, but like I feel like when ROM hacks of any game became a thing, like the original thing was like everyone just made like super duper difficult ROM hacks, and then in the last like maybe like 5 to 7 years, or maybe even longer than that, it's become a lot more normal to just have like normal difficulty ROM hacks.
Yeah, it's interesting because there's always been I feel like there's pretty much almost always been like hacks that have been more casual of difficulty, but it's more well known that it featured like the more hard stuff at the time.
It's interesting with like Super Mario 74 and Star Road, like they're definitely like, I like the difficulty of them because it's like they're not Kaizo necessarily, but they do scale pretty well in terms of difficulty. Like by the end they get pretty difficult, but they're also not just like Kaizo level where it's just like you have to be a pro.
Yeah, so it feels like Star Road and 74 was made with the intention of you having completed the original game, and you might want a little bit more after doing the original game. So
yeah, just like more Mario 64.
yeah, it's just like 70. So I feel 74. I personally prefer, which is I feel like a hot take probably. But
I like it better because I feel like the camera is just like maybe I haven't played like a better camera fix of a Star Road, but like the camera fix ones I played of 74 seem like pretty manageable. Where it's like at least the original Star Road, you just have to like rock Mario Cam the whole time.
yeah, you have to rock Mario Cam or a quote unquote fixed version for the deluxe version
Yeah.
of Star Road, where you hold a D-pad direction and it slowly rotates the camera. It's quicker than if you held the D-pad, but it's not much quicker.
Yeah, I like the levels in this hack so far. Like we got nice fall theme, we got like a nice little winter theme.
Yeah,
Looks like we're moving right along already. 12 stars out of the required 18.
yeah. I really like Plutonium Mario 64 though.
This one has quite a lot of stars, right? It's 101. Have you beat the whole thing?
I have beat the whole thing, like the Y or whatever. It's actually rather, it's actually rather nice and chill. Pardon the
Yeah,
pun here.
it looks like it's pretty good about. I like the level sizes in this so far. Like that was the thing with a lot of the early ROM hacks is like you just have these massive open spaces with like nothing in them. And then like I feel like more recently there's been like a push a little bit to try to condense some of the stages. Like there's like the lugs, like delightful dioramas or something like that, which is
Yeah,
pretty nice. Like it's very small levels, and then you have some good ones like this game seems to be, where it's like kind of not super tiny, but it's also just like a nice moderate size.
yeah. So it is nice that there's like has been more of a push for actual like quality of gameplay rather than just making stuff based on just the amount of content per star that there is.
Yeah, because there's some
Be-
ROM hacks that like 150 stars, but like it's just kind of like quantity over quality, I guess. Whereas like there's some very short hacks, like Sapphire is like obviously the super common example, but also like some creative ones as well, like Mario's Vacation Course. Like that's like a 30-minute hack casually, but it's also like one of the best quality ones of recent years, I would say.
yeah, it uh Mario's Vacation Course is very well polished. I'll
Yeah,
say.
I know. Even like Green Suichi did some runs of that.
Yeah.
Wild hack.
Uh, which is kind of funny because I think Rionu mentioned that while making the hack, he essentially had like barely any ideas as to what to do, so he just plopped some ideas together and thought, "Hey, this might work well," and it worked fucking wonders.
Yeah, it's just like a happy accident. Authentic Brian, so I'll get you the list. I'll post this in chat as well, just for reference, but I'll read it out as well. Let's see here, because I don't think it says this all on the schedule. So we might not get to all these runs, but we have Smart Sphere 0, Plutonium Mario 64, we have Stupid Balls 2.5, we have Mario and the Mystic Purple Stars, and then Super Mario Stiletto, but we might not get to all those runs.
Yeah. Yeah. But for yeah, I think for
Vacation
Kaizo Mario
Quest.
6. I was gonna go back to a part I was gonna say about some of my own experience because I think you perfectly outlined yours. But like, yeah, I started by looking at for ROM hacks. I ended up looking at stuff like Kaizo Mario 64, which I personally was just like, doesn't look that enjoyable, and I just went back to looking at Super Mario World Kaizo, and then later on, I ended up trying out some various SM64 ROM hacks because I saw like there is a website called Viz which had like a bunch of like retro video game stuff that you can play on browser using a proprietary plugin. Which I ended up just playing a bunch of like games, and I thought, huh, N64, and wait, what's this now? And then I looked at all the ROM packs that were available at the time that were on the site, which actually were a pretty good few of them.
Yeah, we're like spoiled now with how like accessible the ROM hacks are. Like there's the Meg Pack, there's like the website where you can like sort them by all the patches. There's even like one site I think even has like you can put in like what type of like characteristic of a hack you're looking for.
Yeah.
And it'll like give you some suggestions. Thank you, Phanton, for the raid, and yeah, Jello. I probably mispronounced that. It's Super Mario Stellato, I guess.
Yes, Stellato. But yeah, I believe with like back, I think my experience of like Viz was back in 2014. Like late 2013, early 2014, around that time. So, but the thing is that there's actually a lot of hacks that are still considered obscure now that was featured there. So I just thought in retrospect that, wow, I'm actually impressed that the people at Viz's websites are able to actually find that stuff.
Yeah, hopefully all this stuff is preserved. We just got the vanish cap there, so I think we're good on stars for this hack. We just have to go get the metal cap now. But yeah, there's so many hacks. Like I hope they stay preserved over the years.
Yeah.
Like I wish there was like the only downside for there being so many hacks is like the speed runs for them are like most hacks only have like a few runners. Unfortunately, like because there's just so many to choose from. But it also makes it good for marathons like this because we have a lot of
variety.
Yeah. So there we go. We have the Plutonium Mario 64. All the metal cap, all the switches are done. So now we're going to move on to Stupid Balls 2.5. And this is a bit of a shorter one, just a 10-minute estimate.
Yeah. Stupid Balls 2.5 by Morning Storm.
Yeah.
64. Which the layout itself is pretty similar to Smart Sphere 0 because Smart Sphere 0 was a larger edit of Stupid Balls 2.
Yeah.
That was then touched up in a couple departments.
Yeah, we have some very creative level design and textures here with like the Princess Peach's castle windows plastered everywhere and just these interesting little castles and pipes in the sky.
Also funny how you used a corn texture as a lava.
Yeah, that's confusing. It looks like this is none of these hacks so far that I've seen are non-stop, which I always figured like when I was getting more into ROM hacks that like every ROM hack would just be non-stop, but like it seems that's not usually the case, but it's usually fine because usually you are taking like a very different path for every star anyway, so non-stop could actually be more of a hindrance than a help.
Yeah, and to be honest, like and I feel like to be fair, like Morning Storm practically made Stupid Balls like the Stupid Balls 2 and partially of 2.5 as pretty much like meme packs anyway.
Yeah, so we'll get a nice little taste of this. We have some pretty trippy textures here, and then we got more wall kicks coming up.
Yeah,
and for those who don't know, non-stop basically just means it's just a fancy term for whether or not the game kicks you out of the level when you collect the star, as it typically does in the vanilla Mario 64. Unlike like Super Mario Odyssey, for example, whereas you can pick up like a moon and just continue on your way throughout the level.
Yeah. Also, I find it funny how in Super Balls 2 and 2.5, womps are just tilted.
Yeah, I was confused about that. Do they
uh,
still function the same?
They still function the same when you get near them. It's just that Morty never figured out how the actual, like, how the behavior with swamps was all the way. So, well, like, at the time, it was, like, pretty hard too. So so he's like,
Yeah.
well, I was, so he thought partially, I should probably fix this, but also, this is stupid balls, so I'm keeping it like this.
Yeah, just for the meme. Looks like we have an intentional death there just to leave the level quicker. Or maybe to spawn at a better spot.
Yeah. Um, with stupid balls, it's actually, like, I've actually played through, like, it's funny, this is technically a part of a sequel to the original Stupid Balls, made by a cartoon buffoon, um, whom is well known in the ROM hack community, or at least the older ROM hack community, and has and one of the bigger things that he is known for was his old rage compilations
Nice.
of him raging in somebody else's ROM hack runs.
Yeah, they can be very frustrating in this game sometimes. So we just got 3 stars, so that's all we need in this hack as well for all the cap switches, which I like. I always like the hacks where they kind of let you. There's not like a super high barrier to getting the cap switches. Like some, they even just give you like all the cap switches right away, and then there's others where like you need a very high star requirement, and you just kind of have to keep in mind like some are even like cruel with it, where like they'll use the cap switch boxes as like platforms that you need. So like you'll just see like those empty boxes, and you know you have to come back later.
Yeah. Yeah.
So here we have the wing cap stage, which is very eloquently labeled WC, which I guess is nice in a way, because it gets confusing. Some of these hacks, like even in like I think Mario 74, like when I play that, I have to like try to remember like where exactly all the cap switches are.
Yeah, that does tend to be a like, after a while of playing through hacks, sometimes I'm just like, sometimes you get a feeling as to where caps usually would be, but then sometimes they aren't, so I'm just like, wait, what the hell?
Yeah, it gets confusing, and it's interesting how like quicksand is such a huge mechanic in ROM hacks, and I believe in the original game it's only used in one stage, I think just shifting sandland, and of course like it's all over the place in ROM hacks, and I've never really had much experience with hacks where you have to do the quicksand ledge grabs. Are you good with those?
I've so if it says anything, I have completed some Kaizos in the past, save stateless, and one of them legitimately had a section where you had to chain a bunch of them together.
Yeah, and it's basically just like a skill check, right? Like there's no like trick to it. You just have to execute it properly for however many times.
Yeah, it is just a nerve check.
Yeah, and it's no fun sometimes.
Yeah, like while there are creative uses for it in like other Kaizo, I can definitely say that most of the time it just ends up being rather tedious.
Yeah, and so basically for those who don't know, it's frequently abbreviated as like QSLGs, I guess, quicksand ledge grabs. Yeah, and you basically like there's a weird mechanic which isn't in the original. Like, I mean, I guess it would like exist in the original game, but there's no situation where it would come up where if a platform has quicksand, you can still like on the platform you can still grab the ledge of the platform and then climb up, and then when you climb up, you have what, maybe like one frame where you can jump before you die.
You have
Is it multiple?
so you have one frame if you don't hold neutral. If you do hold neutral, which is basically just let go the analog stick, when you do that, you have 7-frame window.
Oh, okay, so it's not too bad then. Yeah, so basically you just have to like climb up onto the quicksand and then you jump, and then because you can't stand there forever, you have to like re-grab the ledge at another point and just like slowly make progress that way. And it can be quite like time consuming because it's just a very slow way to traverse platforms, but certain hacks will require you to do some crazy stuff like that. And we have some more I'm not sure what the name for it is, but like it's always interesting when you're wall kicking in one spot and then you have to like transition to another area. I always like watching that.
Oh yeah, crossovers.
Yeah, I guess there is probably a name for it then. Like it's like you have to keep wall kicking in like a new area. I like when you have to like fall down to another area and then like start wall kicking as well. Like it can get pretty hectic.
Yeah. Crossovers can be cool.
And then we have more metal cap lava boosts as well here, some kind of ROM hack specific mechanics.
I feel like with ROM hacks, it tends to be very wall kick heavy.
Yeah, it's like one of the kind of coolest mechanics of this game in general, so there's a lot of different uses. And yeah, here we just have to make sure we hit all the spots for the I know we actually he's climbing up the little slope here as well, and I'm assuming anything not blue there would be quicksand if I had to guess. But we got the cap switch, there we go, and that'll wrap up this hack, I believe. So I think we should have time for the next one. The estimate's 19 minutes, and the overall estimate is 120. So, I mean, I'm not exactly sure how we're doing on the schedule, but it feels like we would have time for that.
Yeah.
If Iwer wanted to do the one more.
Yeah, if you wanted to do the one more after this, you probably can.
Yeah, so we got Mario and the Mystic Purple Stars, a very majestic name. And let's see, this is made by Proggy, and this has 115 stars. Is that the proper pronunciation?
Yeah, Proggy.
Proggy, yeah.
Also from Germany. Fun fact.
Ooh, cool. And we have this one actually does require 15 stars to open a door to get all the ROM hacks. I mean, all the ROM hacks, all the switches.
Yeah, all the ROM hacks, like every single one.
To get the Grandmaster Mega Pack.
Yeah, the Grandmaster Mega Pack, the forbidden one.
Yeah. How often is there a new Mega Pack? I probably have to download the newest one.
See, I help moderate the public server, but I'm not entirely certain like when it is updated.
Yeah,
but
there's probably I know the one, like, it's not really new anymore, but the one I've been meaning to play is like Serene Fusion. I know that one's considered like amazing somehow. I just never really like looked into it too much, but is it true how that one's like just very, very good?
Yeah. Now, as people could probably notice, this hack has a pretty traditional aesthetic and gameplay style, which I am a fan of. Like, that is something that's pretty pog.
Yeah, and it's nice that kind of most of these are like relatively like they fit well together. I think this run would be a lot more difficult if he was jumping between like standard hacks and then hacks with like crazy power-ups and cameras and all that.
Yeah. Yeah, I believe this hack took Proggy a good bit to develop. From what little I remember of what he told me about the hack.
Is he still around? Is he still active?
He posts every once in a while. But I think he's mostly just doing his own thing.
Yeah, people come and go. I've heard that like some people actually came back during the COVID years, like because they had more time to just
Yeah.
like start making ROM hacks again.
Yeah, Lugmalord of Super Mario 74 and 74 Extreme Edition fame and infamy, depending on who you ask, for Extreme Edition.
Yeah.
Especially the boomers, but uh, but uh, but Lug ended up coming back to ROM hacking in 2020 since he figured it's COVID. There's a lockdown for a large period of time here, so I guess screw it. Guess I'll just make another hack.
Yeah, it's OG.
And his old Betty Birdu ended up letting him know of like some more of the modern a couple of the modern tweaks that have been made since he made his hacks like at the very least 8 years ago at that point.
Yeah, like, well, I remember at the beginning there was like Toad's Tool 64, which was like very, I'm sure that like doesn't hold a candle to the tools today. I'm sure it's like practically like Mario Maker compared to that now.
Yeah, I feel like with ROM hacking tools, and even like software that you use to play the ROM hacks as well, because used to there was like it wasn't BPS patches but PPF patches, and there was like separate programs that you had to use to extend the ROM size so you could actually apply the patch with a separate
Oh my god,
program.
I remember that. You're like reminding me of these like annoying memories of just trying to get these to work, whereas like now it's so simple. You just go on like the website and you just apply the patch and it takes 2 seconds.
Yeah, and to be honest, like that was something that felt too annoying at the time for me to want to do for playing ROM hacks. So I figured that I just thought, you know what, I'm just gonna stick to playing them on this plugin until it improves.
Yeah, what's the whole thing with like decomp? It just makes it a lot easier to program the ROM hacks, I guess. Like,
I think if you want to make custom stuff, decomp is a really good tool if you want to make it. However, like one of the caveats for it is if you want to make something custom, you might need to learn C.
yeah,
Which is one of the programming languages that Mario 64 was programmed in. Fun fact.
yeah. Jello, we just need 15 stars in this ROM hack to get all the cap switches. There's many more stars than that, I believe, in this hack. There's 115, but just for the cap switches, we have to get 15 stars. So we're about halfway through.
It's me, Mario.
So I feel like with ROM hacking tools these days, it tends to be a lot more it's easier to manage and even for ROM hacks that, because I think decomp mainly stands for like for ROMs that use partially the decompiled files of Mario 64, because that was something that did happen around 2019 or so. Was that the either 2019 or 2020, either one of those years, where the game's code was actually decompiled and separated out.
Yeah, just by like reverse engineering, I think, basically.
Yeah, by basically reverse engineering the game's code.
Yeah, because like I don't know much about programming, but from what I understand, like games are made in like all this code, and then when you actually finish the game, you like compile it, and then that's the game that you like send out for people to play, the compiled version. So like you don't, when you're just playing the compiled version, you don't necessarily have like all the original code of the game and whatnot. But if you're crazy enough, you can like reverse engineer it to get like the original like compiled code. Like I think that's like a very, very, very like basic explanation of it. It's probably a
Yeah,
little more
yeah.
complicated than that.
Like even without knowing much about programming, like very small smatterings of like a few languages, but that's about the most I have. But like even from that, I could probably tell that it would be a very long and arduous process of figuring out how the game actually works on an intimate level.
Yeah, it would be like if someone gave you a piece of like a piece of paper with stuff printed on it, and they're like, "Go make a printer," just using this piece of paper as a reference. Like, I don't know if that's a good analogy, but I guess that makes sense.
If there's any programmers in chat, can you corroborate?
Yeah, but I know there was the Giga Leak as well in 2020, which like there was a lot of beta assets of Mario 64 released from that, but I don't
Yeah.
think they had like original code so much in that.
Yeah.
Maybe like bits and pieces, but I'm not sure that they like had like the full source code or anything.
Yeah, it's either in small bits and pieces of the original code, or it's something that mimics what the original code does.
Yeah.
Like either or would be equally likely. I feel like.
I love how like some like Luigi textures were found in that as well. So like it kind of finally solves the mystery of like that. Yeah, it pretty much just was planned as like a 2-player mode, but then like I mean Nintendo's like pretty much confirmed as well that like I believe they wanted a 2-player mode in Mario 64, but it was just they couldn't get it to run well enough without having to like sacrifice the complexity of the game, so they had to scrap it. But
yeah,
in that Giga Leak, there is some Luigi textures.
Yeah, and I think in probably like old interviews, I believe Miyamoto originally wanted many more stages in Mario 64 than there actually was. But he ended up having to settle with like 15 main courses because the people that were actually coding the game were worried about that with they were worrying about like all those levels actually fitting onto a cartridge.
Yeah, that was one problem with cartridges as well. And I think there was supposed to be like a disk drive in Mario 64 as well.
Yeah.
That never really happened.
Yeah, that never really happened though, which is a big shame.
Yeah,
and also a shame that disk drive never took off either.
Yeah, there's just like barely anything was ever made for it, and no one really ended up buying it. But yeah, there was a lot more potential for this game. Than one thing that was always said too is like I feel like they could have put a lot more music in the original Mario 64. Like it's very non-Nintendo of them. Well, I mean, I guess maybe it was common at the time, but so many of the stages just have like the same music repeated, and I feel like if they had more time to compose more, like it would have been cool if we had so much more like iconic Mario 64 music compared to like the same like 4 to 5 songs reused like all over through the game.
Yeah, I feel like at the time they were probably conserving on space because they weren't entirely certain how much they could fit on a cartridge, so they figured they would take a safe bet.
Yeah, like the things that you had to do for compression in video games back then, like it was crazy. Like I've even seen like videos of like the original like Pokemon like Red and Blue. Like they didn't just upload all the images of the Pokemon onto the cartridge. They like just compressed it in some weird way where like the game would like know how to put the images together, rather than just like uploading all these sprites onto the cartridge because they had such like little room to work with at the time.
Yeah, it's actually really interesting to see all the different pieces of like older game development, because like with newer game development you could roughly tell what's going on without really knowing without having a deep knowledge of like game dev, you could have like somewhat of an idea of what people are doing.
Yeah, it's more standardized now, and I think that's why like we see so many games cross-platform. And I'll give Nintendo credit that they're still very good at compression with games. Like there's like big name Nintendo games on the Switch that are like 5 gigabytes or something, and it seems like every other like company and even other companies making games for the Switch, like they're just horrible with that. Like I got the like Spyro Remastered Trilogy. I got the cartridge version, and then I think I had to download like 9 gigabytes or something like that. I don't know if it was quite like 9 gigabytes, but something close. Like just to play the whole game, there was like some crazy download, and then like the PC games and like for other consoles are like even worse. Like there can be like 200 gigabyte games, which is like just absurd.
Yeah. Also, Wiggler fight at the end of Bowser World.
Yeah, classic Wiggler fight.
Yeah, Wiggler fight from THI. From Thick.
Yeah. So we have all the stars we need, I believe. So looks like we're making good progress. This should be star. Oh well, this is 16. Or maybe that's 15. Okay, 15. So we got all the stars we need now.
Yeah.
So we can get all the caps, and yeah, this will likely be the last run. Like the thing is, the final game is a 6-minute estimate, but
Yeah.
so I'm not sure if we have time. But this game will probably take a few more minutes, so we don't have to go over estimate.
Let's see. What's the one here? I feel like given the estimate on the next run, there's a definite big chance of like Ludwig von Krupp having a big possibility of going underestimate. So I probably wouldn't have much of a problem with going a little over.
Yeah, we'll see what Iwer wants to do.
Yeah,
it's
and
been pretty.
Which if Iwer wants to stop at Mr. Purple Stars, I wouldn't put it past them and just prep through Ludwig's run.
Yeah, that's good to see Ludwig doing another run. I did some commentary for a race that he did at the last SSRM.
Yeah.
Quite a few. He's is he German as well? I think I can't remember.
Yeah, I believe he's German as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of European runners, and it's just amazing how many people make ROM hacks as well. Because like, it's not something like anyone does like for money or anything, but it's just like there's so much passion for like making these hacks. Like even though it's just going to be a small audience of players and all that, like it's just amazing how many people are actually into making these hacks.
Yeah, it's amazing how many people make the ROM. Like I'm just gonna say, people actually making a big deal about.
It's me, Mario.
I think that's time. Time.
Oh yes, it's time.
It's
what?
me, Mario.
So just Iwer, do you want to do the other game? If we have time,
I guess he's just doing stiletto.
Yeah.
Oh, I guess he's just. Oh, said G.
He said GG's.